afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast lounge here in the NEC 2025. New and improved this year with coffee, tea and beer available. We're streaming live on Car Radio today, tomorrow and Sunday, so you can tune in at any time, even if you're not here. Now, have you ever bought a car magazine, a classic car magazine? Of course you have. You've got a whole loft full of them, a spare room and a lounge as well, I know, and you put your feet up on them instead of a what do you call it, buffet. Well, we've all looked at those magazines. We thought how wonderful. Those people get to work, they get paid, they get a free workshop that's warm with free tea and coffee, free cars, free parts. What's going on? So we invited Classic Car Weekly here to tell us a bit more.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to the Classic Car Weekly podcast, the sibling podcast to the popular weekly title. And well, yeah, it is. This is a bit of a busman's holiday for the three of us. The three of us being myself, Jesse Billington, the staff writer, and I'm joined by the ever-reliable David Simister, our editor.
Hello.
And we have returning our senior contributor, James Sadlier.
Less of the senior, thank you very much, but yes, hello.
Junior, you want to be called junior contributor?
Seniority's
nice, yeah. And we'll kick off, as we usually do, with an Hour Classics catch-up. And David, you and I were talking earlier this week on the main podcast. There's not been a lot going on, really, with your cars, or mine for that matter of fact. But James, you've got important news when it comes to your classic cars.
Yes, so I've sold the Polo bread van, which I did love, but it didn't have my heart. The Peugeot 406 was also sold at auction, at both Anglia car auctions, and I sold both because I was looking to buy myself a Mark 1 Audi TT, which I now have. And actually, thanks very much to my dad, who's not sitting too far away, who actually bought the Audi TT for me.
Very nice.
Yeah,
So the question is, what are the specs? Have we got 1.8? Are we 3.2?
It's a 1.8. It's but it's got some power and speed to it. So it's the 1.8. It's a 2005 model. So it's got the extra spoiler on the back, and it needed a bit of work. It didn't cost too much. Bought it for £1,000, and with that, it's got 135,000 miles on the clock. So it's lived a good life. It's been well serviced. It needs the headline sorting inside. It's sagging slightly, and a few other kind of aesthetic elements to it. But it's a healthy car.
Yeah, it's a running, driving TT, which is something you've been after for quite some time. Has it got the baseball leather interior?
It has. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous with that stitching. Really gorgeous.
That is the interior to have.
And it's to drive it. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never driven one before. I'd always wanted one. And I drove it for the first time, and I've just fallen in love with it. And
lives up to the hype.
I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to look after it. Lots to do on it, but lots of features in Classic Car Weekly where I kind of help it, nurse it back to a more kind of, not concours condition, but certainly closer to as close as I can get.
Good running condition. I think we can say that it will be appearing for the first time in Classic Car Weekly in our 19th of November issue as well in the Hour Classics section, so certainly one to pick up for that. I will say, well, David, any updates on your classics? Because I know you've taken the train down once again. You're sort of a fan of public transport this so seemingly past fortnight.
Well, I was going to say, certainly I had a very long train journey last weekend going down to London and then Brighton for the veteran car run, which was an absolutely fantastic event this year. And again, used Avanti West Coast Finest to come down to this event. But it meant I could do some reading of our big NEC special issue, which is going on the shops this time on Wednesday. So not only will we have a huge report on this week's show, on this weekend show, all the highlights from across the 7 different halls, all the best cars, all the big names that are appearing at the show this year. But we've also got some behind-the-scenes stories as well. So actually, I was reading some of our early content for this, some of our behind-the-scenes stuff on the train on the way down here.
Yeah, so plenty to look forward to in the upcoming issues of Classic Car Weekly. And, well, actually, on my classic front, I will say my MG is here. It's over on the Midget and Sprite Club stand. Drove all the way here, running like a charm, and, gave it a quick wipe down this morning after driving it up last night. So yeah, go and have a look at that and wonder how many MGs were actually produced in yellow, because we somehow ended up with 4 all in yellow on the stand. So there's plenty there. The worst thing is that mine isn't the only rubber bumper yellow midget, and therefore it's also not the best looking one there, because it's seen some progress over the year. But anyway, there will be again an update, much like James's TT, in the Our Classic section. But with our cars out the way, we'll jump to the main point of why we're here, which is the Classic Motor Show. This is one of the biggest events we cover in the year, probably the biggest event. 3 days of classic cars filling the NEC. And then we've already got some highlights. James, I know you've got quite a comprehensive list of things that have already jumped out to you. So we'll kick off with your spots, your finds.
Well, I've just had a quick look at the 1936 Austin 10. That's now the oldest car to ever travel the African Rally, covering 6,500 kilometers down southern Africa. Back in July. So it's the oldest car to ever complete that run, which is amazing. That's here today, I think in Hall 4. Celebrating a few anniversaries, we've got the DeLorean Owners Club, which is celebrating 30 years. And in proper time machine fashion, the Porsche 924 Owners Club is celebrating 50 years of the 924, but the 2026 anniversary. So that's next year. So they've got a wonderful stand with many examples on there. And I got to sit in a Rothmans X-Works Ford Escort Mark II RS 1800, driven by Ari Vatanen and David Richards, which was actually very comfortable. And I could have had a little snooze in there. It was that comfortable.
Very nice. Were they Recaro seats in that?
They were.
Yeah, very nice.
It was lovely.
Hug into those, yes.
Although getting into it was interesting. It turns out I'm not as young as I was.
There's a lot of door bar to get quite a lot of leg over and sort of squeeze into, but there we go. David, what have you found so far across the show? What's jumped out to you? Obviously, you and I were here last night for setup day. We had a proper poke around, and you've unearthed some gems already. What's really started jumping out to you?
I think there are some amazing cars with really enthralling stories behind them at this year's show. One of the real favourites for me was over in Hall 5. The Military Vehicle Trust has got a really big display, and they've got a right-hand drive Chevrolet V8, which was brought into this country by Sir Malcolm Campbell of record-breaking fame. He then, during the Second World War, loaned it to George Formby, and he actually used it. He painted it in its current sand colour and used it while in North Africa entertaining the troops. It's an absolutely fascinating story and well worth checking out closer. And another personal favourite for me, actually, if you go over into Hall 1, the TVR Car Club, their stand this year is absolutely phenomenal. I think my standout car of the show so far this year is the TVR Speed 12, the original concept car. That was something which they launched it as the 712 here at the NEC way back in 1996, and it's on one of its a very, very rare outing for the car. It's just shows you, this was the era when TVR were really kind of squaring up to the sports car establishment. They were looking at Porsche and Ferrari and even Lamborghini to an extent, and kind of mooning them from when they were sort of looking and taking on the sports car world, and that was really the flagship of the TVR range at the time. They've also got next to it the original Tuscan, which again, when that model was launched right here at the NEC back at the 1998 British Motor Show, it was that car which was used to launch the model, and it's back here again. Fascinating piece of Blackpool history, and really, really glad to see it on show this year.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Are any of them finished in, because TVR had that sort of chameleon chrome colour paintwork, are any of them finished in that? Because I absolutely love that paintwork.
The Speed 12 is finished in a kind of a chameleon style iridescent paintwork. So that's the one. I know the one you're thinking of. They had a TVR Tuscan in with John Travolta in Swordfish, which again that was it was a really quirky car, and it sort of helped to propel TVR onto the world stage. So again, that's the kind of the paint job, the slightly bonkers look that TVR were really pushing at the time.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating paintwork. And obviously, the NEC, this is the first day of the event, and it is already packed with guests and visitors here. What is the big draw for this event? What makes this sort of such a special event for classic fans to attend?
I think it's but by far and away, it's one of the biggest celebrations of car clubs and car enthusiasts, not only in Britain and Europe, but also in the world. It's huge. There's more than 3,000 vehicles on show. There are 310 clubs. 16 of them are brand new. They've never been to the NEC before. This is the place where you come to hear expert advice, especially on the live stage over in Hall 5 as well. And it's also a great place to buy and sell not only bits for classics, but cars themselves. You can go over into Hall 2, you can go to Iconic Auctioneers, stick in a bid for a car. I was having a look at a 1978 Toyota Carina with one owner from new and only 22,000 miles on the clock. And I would be so tempted to go in there, stick in a bid and drive that home because it's a phenomenal car. But you can not only look at cars, you can buy one and drive it home from the show.
There are some stunning cars over in the auction lot, and I was going to say there's two that have jumped out to me. There's a very tidy Series 1 Land Rover Discovery that we discussed on the podcast earlier this week that's caught my heart, as well as a twin-cam MGA. I love my MG sports cars. My granddad used to have an MGA and is still trying to track it down, and twin cam is sort of the absolute peak when it comes to those A's. And I had a look around it in the auction hall last night, and it is phenomenal. James, have you had a chance to have a look around the auction hall? Is there anything that sort of, now that you've cleared out the old cars, you're starting to build a new collection, what's going to join the Audi TT in the garage if we were to give you some budget and set you free in the auction hall with the magical Classic Car Weekly kitty?
First of all, I need to go to an auction for a housing sale to buy myself a bigger driveway for cars, I think, first. But yeah, no, I'm happy with the Audi TT. Not been to see the auction yet, but I have been over to the Pride of Ownership stand, which is really impressive this year. I mean, it is every year, but the Pride of Ownership is celebrating 10 years now, and we have the best of the best here, but we've also got the usual kind of Pride of Ownership, and some of the owners have got some wonderful stories over there, and they're more than happy to talk to you about their classics, their cars, what they've done with them. Some have gone through some remarkable rescue stories when you didn't think they could salvage some of these. And that's another part of the NEC show that I've noticed this year. The amount of restorations that are here, and the cars that have been, saved from, disappearing forever. They're all here, and you wouldn't know to look at them because they look brand new.
I mean,
They're
if you head
incredible.
to one of the Triumph Owners Club stands, there is Gigi, I'm trying to remember, the Herald that's on that stand. That is a car that appeared at the restoration show a few years back as one of the barn find display cars, and it's had a fantastic turnaround to the point that it's now beautifully restored. An absolutely fantastic look at the work and the effort that has gone into restoring a car that is essentially a very late sort of Gen 1, very early Gen 2 Herald. Is remarkable to look at, and the owners have done such fantastic work with restoring this car and keeping it on the road. And as I was going to say, what's your sort of standout story then? If you've had a look around Pride of Ownership, which are the cars to go and have a look at, the stories to go and dive deeper into?
So there's a few. Certainly Christopher Frost's 1983 Ford Escort Mark III. It's a fantastic one. You've got Andy Green's 1970 Volkswagen Beetle, which he's had since he's 15 years old. And he's just using that as a daily driver, and a lot of these owners are using them daily, but you look at them and they're in concours condition.
Stories of sort of incredible ownership. David, what else have you sort of spotted while you've been out and about?
The thing with the Classic Motor Show is it never ceases in its ability to surprise when it comes to metal. And there are some cars here which have seldom been seen, in some cases ever. Over in Hall 5 on the FBHVC stand, there's the MG PR3. This is a prototype for what would eventually become the MGF. That's not been seen, in the last 25 years unless you're a Longbridge insider. So that is, again, a fascinating motoring what-if from Longbridge. If you go into Hall 1 as well, actually, look at the Panther Car Club, because they have what's a prototype for a model that would have been called the P99, a sports car that, again, it never saw the light of day. It's only been here once before, and that was way back in 2008. And I was speaking to the Panther Car Club earlier, and they said that after this weekend's show, it's likely that it's not going to be seen again at this show. So actually, there's some really rare cars that, if you look around them, you'll see some cars that you've not necessarily seen before, and they usually have some really fascinating stories behind them. So this is, if you want to go to a car show where you see something that's a little bit quirky, a little bit unusual, you might think, oh, well, maybe I've not seen this car with that particular type of body before or in this particular condition. This is the show to come and see it, because this is where the clubs bring out their absolutely finest and most unusual cars.
I will say, on the front of sort of unique cars or sort of one-off cars, I was over at the Wolseley Hornet special stand having a chat with them because they're celebrating the 75th anniversary of the club. This is their first time at the Classic Motor Show, the November show, and they have a brilliant sort of array of cars that are built on the Wolseley Hornet sort of chassis with the same drivetrains, but the way they've all been rebodied in period or as restorations shows this sort of great sort of embodiment of not only the show's theme of best of both worlds, the fact that you could have them as sort of the very, not dour saloon, but very sort of upright, formal sort of saloon car with room for 4 people in it, right the way down to sort of 2-seater racing cars that have the option for having a supercharger fitted to them, very much both ends of the scale. And the attention and the sort of influx they've had to what is essentially a very small sort of car club has been phenomenal, and the work they're doing to sort of show the interest in these sort of vintage cars, these pre-war cars, has been great. And they've got people sort of getting in the cars, showing them that sort of how to get into them, sort of the seating position, and these are rare cars, but it's getting sort of people excited about them, which is great to see.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why in Classic Car Weekly we give the Classic Motor Show the amount of coverage that we do. We have a huge bumper issue going out next Wednesday, and the reason why is because this is the place where you're going to see it's Britain's biggest celebration of the classic car movement. It's a movement that's worth £7.3 billion a year to the nation's coffers, and if you want to see, what all those clubs, all those specialists, all those enthusiasts tinkering away in their garages, this is where you see the finished results, and they are stonking. There are some absolutely phenomenal cars on show this year.
There's one example, actually, from the Mini Cooper register with the 1989 Rover Mini Flame, which was originally owned by the Brooklands Museum and took part in a record-setting challenge to find out how fast a Mini could be built.
So this was sort of an assembly project, literally starting with it in its component pieces, put it together as quickly as possible.
It's essentially a brand new Mini, yeah.
What a fantastic little story.
Lovely.
And while we're on sort of the subject of the community around classic cars, there is also a great sort of wealth of young enthusiasts here as well. We've got young owners clubs sort of across the halls, and we've even got a young owner on the Classic Car Weekly stand as well. We've got Scott with his 1972 MGB, which has its own brilliant story that sort of shows that there is scope for younger enthusiasts to get into this hobby and really knuckle down when it comes to it.
Yeah, I mean, what a phenomenal story that is. This is Scott Hadshead, who he's got a 1972 MGB GT, and he started this year with some really bad news. He looked out of his window. That you might remember, there was a huge storm, particularly in the north of England, on New Year's Eve going into New Year's Day, and he opened his window, and his beloved MGB GT was under about 4 foot of water. So that's something that would be a huge setback to any enthusiast. But with the help of the classic car community, he's not only managed to mend it, but it's here. This is still a black style. It's here today at the NEC show, and he didn't trailer it down. He drove it down here, down the M6. It's it's testament to how great and resilient this community is. That car has gone from being at the bottom of some floodwater to being here at the show. So go to Hall 4, have a look on the Classic Car Weekly stand. Chat with Scott. He will tell you the story behind the car. It's an absolutely wonderful result for the community.
So you're telling me that there's 2 MGs in the NEC that have been underwater in the last couple of years?
Let's not go down that pathway. I've finally got it fixed and running again and won't be doing that anymore.
But it's a success story.
Yeah, let's just
it's
say
come back to life. That's 2 MGs that have been
Classic
underwater.
Car Weekly has seen sort of revived. Yeah, I won't be doing that again, especially now I've got the nice new fancy sports intake manifold on it that's even less water resilient. But anyway, it's great to see sort of all these classic clubs coming together, celebrating sort of the range of cars that we've got across the community, as well as the range of owners we've got when it comes to sort of getting young owners into it, and it sort of encourages them into the hobby. So it is one of those sort of all-round feel-good weekends, and it is, again, a bit of a privilege to have to come and work at the event, and when it is simply so lovely to be at, and a great excuse to celebrate the classic car.
Yeah, absolutely. The great thing with being here, obviously, is that, yes, as journalists, we get free tickets to come in, which is great, but we've also got to write the stories as well. So, obviously, we are going to be running around, taking photographs of cars, interviewing owners right through the weekend, so we can produce a really big bumper issue, which is going to be on sale on Wednesday. So, if you've got a fantastic story about your classic car, come and talk to one of us. We'll be on the stand throughout the weekend in Hall 4, and we will have a look at it and see if we can get that into our coverage as well.
Yeah, plenty of chance to flag us down and have a conversation. We're always interested to learn about your cars. Gents, we've still got an entire issue to put together and a lot of coverage to get around these halls. So I shall thank you for joining me for the latest edition of the Classic Car Weekly podcast, and we'll hand back to sort of the overarching announcer.
Who doesn't have really anything to add other than to to thank you very much for coming. Are you on again over the next... This was it. You can always listen again. Of course, if you head over to Car Radio, you'll find live coverage here from the show today, tomorrow and Sunday. More podcasts coming up in a half an hour's time.